Hi, welcome back. I want to take a few minutes and visit with you about the upcoming second response paper and the upcoming exam. Your R2, your second response paper is due Thursday, October 26th. That's this Thursday for 11:55 p.m. Let me just encourage you, be sure to read the assignment sheet, and then if you have any questions, let me know. You're going to pick one of those three topics, Parable of the Cave, Oedipus the King, or the author Francis Petrarch, and then narrow in, focus in on just one particular aspect of that topic, and give me your reaction to it. Please don't retell the story. We don't need any summaries. Be sure your thesis, last sentence of the introduction, clearly tells me which one you're talking about, which topic you're addressing. A common mistake that I see a lot is a student will have their introduction, and in the first or second sentence, they'll tell me the Parable of the Cave is interesting, yada, 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 Plato, yada, yada, yada. And then the thesis, the last sentence says, it is fascinating. Well, the pronoun it refers back to it, but the thesis has to stand alone. So be sure to rename the antecedent both in the thesis and in each topic sentence. Now you're probably thinking, well, that's going to sound a little redundant if I say the Parable of the Cave, the Parable of the Cave, the Parable of the Cave. Yes, it can, but that's okay. At this point, we're more interested in just a clear structure, a clear control over the ideas rather than the niceties of writing style. So make sure your paper is clear, make sure it's easy to read. Of course, you want to proofread carefully. You don't have to have a subtle or profound point about which area you're focusing on, but just make sure that I can tell you've read the material. If you commit a factual error, an error of fact, and you say in the Parable of the Cave, the speaker dies when the speaker doesn't, that tells me you didn't read the material very carefully. Now, if you're doing the Parable of the Cave, also called the Allegory of the Cave, be careful, because a lot of those verbs that the translator uses are conditional verbs. If the speaker had gone back down into the cave, then he would have been killed. So be careful. It doesn't say the speaker was killed. It says he would have been if he had done this. So be careful about the verbs. Read carefully, read closely, and just pick one specific aspect and give me your gut reaction to it. Tell me how you feel about it, what you think about it, your ideas, your response. It's a response paper. And I know you've read this, but let me just read it to you one more time. It says, a response paper is your chance to communicate in writing your personal viewpoint and personal learning, i.e. your experiences, your ideas, as they relate to the topic in question. A response paper is intended to be a transformative experience. Now, who gets transformed? That's right, the writer, you, the author. As you write your paper, as you begin to think more and more deeply about one specific aspect of the topic you've chosen, it's going to cause you to think about it in new ways. It's going to cause you to change a little bit. It's going to transform your insights as you work on the paper, and it's meant to. Remember, good papers are not written overnight, and they're not written by AI. Be sure to avoid all ChatGPT, all sort of AI, and of course avoid plagiarism. You don't want to plagiarize. But what I'm looking for are your thoughts, your ideas, and it's okay to change. But, and I know this seems a little contradictory, but you also don't want to be wishy-washy. You don't want to say, well, on one hand, Humbaba was a terrible monster, but on the other hand, it's pretty understandable, some of his actions and words. For a paper of this length, there's not really enough time to develop two contradictory ideas, so just pick one idea, Humbaba was a terrible monster, and tell me why you feel that way. Okay? Of course, don't forget the context. Don't forget the time and the place in which these things were written and the audience they were written for, if we know, and just tell me what you think. I'd be particularly interested in knowing what you think about Petrarch, Francis Petrarch, the father of modern drama. Okay, exam 2 has been rescheduled for week 11. That's going to be November the 9th. It's going to cover everything from week 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, including Dante's Inferno. Now, Dante's Inferno is tough. It's challenging. I've posted a lot of supplemental material about it, and I encourage you, after you read it, after you've read the assignment, to go do a little digging on your own. Go do a little bit more research on your own to find out more about it. It's considered one of the greatest works of literature for a great reason. Not only is the subject matter just mind-blowingly amazing, Dante himself said the topic was ineffable, an attempt to explain the ways of God to man, but also the structure, the construction, the syntax. It's written in Italian, vernacular Italian, everyday Italian, but it translates pretty well into English, and we do get some amazingly beautiful poetry as well as these incredible ideas. I encourage you, when you read Dante's Inferno, or really any of these, Beowulf included, to start off with a list of characters. Be sure you know who's who before you ever get into it. A little summary of the plot wouldn't hurt. Maybe some of a list of the main ideas. CPT, characters, plot, and theme. Having those tools in hand before you go reading can be very helpful. All right. Well, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask, and I'll be happy to help. Good luck.